There is a moment in every life when you realize that not everyone who smiles at you is standing beside you. Some people enter your world carrying kindness in their words, warmth in their voices, and promises in their hands, but time has a way of turning pages they never intended you to read. So before you give someone your trust, pause. Watch. Listen. Not only to what they say, but to what they do when nobody is applauding. Watch how they treat people who cannot benefit them. Listen to how they speak about those who are no longer in the room. Notice what happens when they are disappointed, when they are challenged, when they do not get their way. Because people reveal themselves in moments they cannot rehearse. A person can tell you who they are in a beautiful sentence, but their patterns will tell you the truth in a language far more honest. And sometimes, the most important thing you can learn about someone is not what they say to you, but what they repeatedly show you. You do not have to become suspicious of everyone. You simply have to become awake. Because trusting people is not weakness. But trusting without seeing is. And the more carefully you learn to read the human heart, the less you will need to learn its lessons through heartbreak. Trust is one of the most precious things you can give another person, because when you trust someone, you do more than believe their words. You give them access to parts of your life that you do not show to everyone. You share your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, your weaknesses, and sometimes even the things you have never been able to say aloud. That is why trust should never be built on promises alone. Words can be beautiful, convincing, and perfectly chosen, but patterns are harder to fake. Anyone can promise to respect you. Anyone can say, "I will always be there for you." Anyone can tell you that they would never hurt you. But the real question is not what they promise when everything is easy. The real question is what they consistently do when life becomes difficult. Pay attention to consistency. If someone says they value your time, but repeatedly ignores it, their actions are speaking. If they promise to keep your secrets, but constantly expose the secrets of others, they are showing you what they may eventually do with yours. If they speak about loyalty, but disappear whenever you need them, listen to the pattern rather than the promise. This does not mean that people must be perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has bad days. A single mistake does not always reveal someone's character. What matters is repetition. A pattern is created when the same behavior appears again and again, especially after the person has already been given the opportunity to change. People often tell us who they are, but we sometimes listen only to the version we want to believe. We hear the apology and forget the behavior that required it. We hear the promise and ignore the history behind it. We focus on potential while overlooking reality. But trust should be based on reality. Watch how someone behaves when they are angry. Watch how they respond when you say no. Watch whether they respect your boundaries when they do not agree with them. Watch whether they celebrate your success or quietly compete with it. Watch whether their kindness exists only when they need something from you. These moments reveal more than long conversations ever could. And there is another kind of pattern we often overlook: how people treat those who have nothing to offer them. Notice how they speak to workers, strangers, family members, or people they believe are beneath them. Character is often most visible when there is no reward for pretending. Because trust does not need to be rushed. Let time do some of the reading for you. Let consistency reveal character. Let actions complete the sentences that words begin. The people worthy of your trust will not demand that you believe them immediately. They will give you enough evidence, through the quiet repetition of their actions, that believing them becomes natural. People are constantly communicating, even when they are not saying a word. Sometimes the most honest parts of a person are hidden in the spaces between their sentences, in the way they react when they are uncomfortable, and in the way they treat people who cannot give them anything in return. If you want to understand someone before giving them your trust, you must learn to observe beyond their words. Words can be carefully chosen. Actions are usually harder to control. Someone may tell you that they respect you, but watch what happens when you disagree with them. Do they listen, or do they become dismissive? Do they respect your boundaries, or do they try to make you feel guilty for having them? These small moments can reveal more about a person's character than hours of conversation. Pay attention to how people behave when they are disappointed. Anyone can be pleasant when everything goes their way. Character becomes clearer when circumstances do not. A person's reaction to rejection, criticism, failure, or inconvenience can tell you whether their kindness is genuine or simply convenient. Then there is silence. Silence can reveal what words try to hide. Notice what someone chooses not to defend, what they avoid discussing, and how they behave when they think nobody is watching. Sometimes you learn more from a person's expression than from their explanation. A sudden change in tone, a repeated avoidance of responsibility, or an uncomfortable silence may not tell you the entire story, but it can tell you to pay closer attention. And perhaps one of the greatest windows into someone's character is the way they treat people who have no power over them. Watch how they speak to a waiter, a cleaner, a younger person, a stranger, or someone they believe cannot benefit them. If they are respectful only toward people they need, their kindness may be conditional. But when someone remains respectful even when there's nothing to gain, you are seeing something deeper than politeness. You are seeing character. Also observe how people speak about others when those people are absent. If someone constantly humiliates their friends behind their backs, exposes private information, or enjoys tearing others down, do not assume you will always be the exception. The way they handle another person's story can become a preview of how they will handle yours. But observation should not become suspicion. You are not reading people so that you can judge everyone. You are learning to recognize patterns so that you can make wiser choices. One uncomfortable moment does not define a person. One mistake does not reveal an entire character. Look for consistency. Look for repeated behavior. Look at what happens after someone is given a chance to correct themselves. Most importantly, do not allow your desire to trust someone to become stronger than the evidence they are giving you. Sometimes we see the person we hope someone will become instead of the person they repeatedly show us they are. We listen to explanations while ignoring patterns. We believe promises while overlooking behavior. But when you learn to observe carefully, you stop asking only, "What did they say?" and begin asking, "What have they shown me?" That question can protect your peace. Because people reveal themselves every day, in the way they speak, the way they listen, the way they respond to boundaries, the way they treat the powerless, the way they handle responsibility, and the way they behave when there's nothing to gain. You do not need to interrogate a person to understand them. Sometimes you only need to slow down, become quiet, and allow their actions to tell you what their words never could.